Welcome to another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Patrick Pettigrew Jr. Full name this time, baby. And in front of me are my two best friends in the world, Calvin McGowan and Philip Dixon. Guys, go ahead and let the people hear your name.
Everybody, once again, I'm Calvin McGowan. It's a pleasure to be here. Uh, and I have thoughts about the Grizzlies game.
Well, what's going on, man? Philip Dixon, aka George Bush, don't care about black people, and I have thoughts about the Brooklyn Nets game.
As you can tell, it is playoff time. So we're just going to go ahead and get into the games that we watch really closely. And, Calvin, you got a good one. So, Calvin, go ahead and tell us your thoughts on Memphis versus the Timberwolves, because that might be the most interesting one just from like a storyline perspective, not actual basketball.
I mean, hasn't everything else been chalk to this point? Like the team you'd expect to win one, or am I forgetting something?
Nets, that's a toss-up one. That's a toss-up one.
The Bulls barely lost.
Bulls barely lost. The Heat
Close on the
destroyed
counts with
Atlanta.
horseshoes and hand grenade throws.
The Heat destroyed Atlanta. And the Jazz beat the Mavericks down Luka Doncic. And the Sixers won. So essentially, yes, by the Boston Nets game is like a toss-up at this moment.
Okay, well, Memphis has been one of the best teams in the league all season. And one, like it is apparently my understanding now, like looking at some stuff, that the Timberwolves aren't the best matchup for like the Grizzlies. Like they apparently like split during the regular season. Now, that said, let's get into the actual game because it was surprisingly wild for a game that like it felt like Minnesota controlled basically the whole way. Because okay, so a couple things. One, right, the Grizzlies, who are one of the best one of, if not the best rebounding team in the league, got out rebounded by Minnesota. In addition to that, right, Anthony Edwards, just Anthony Edwards.
That's all you need to say. Just Anthony Edwards.
Look.
That's
So,
all that needs to be said, yo.
Pretty
We
much.
know what's up with that man.
Like, well, it's like I'm be honest. I think this is probably like my first time actually seeing him as a pro, because I did catch him at an event up here when he was in high school, and I was watching, this Grizzlies Minnesota game, and he was doing a lot of the same stuff he was doing in high school, just getting to his spots basically at will. He had an amazing game. Put up 36 points, right? 6 assists. Just he was a problem, and he played solid defense, right? And of course, Karl Anthony Towns is who we know him to be, just a very good player. The Grizzlies, though, as I mentioned, didn't quite play up to what they usually do, right? They didn't shoot the 3 ball well. They didn't rebound to their normal standards, right? Like I mentioned previously, they got out rebounded. Ja Morant didn't pass out of the drive. And let me explain to you for a moment why this frustrates me. Okay, so right, if you look at his numbers, right, he went 8 of 18 for 32 points. He took 20 free throws. He made 16 of them. Right, most of his points came from the line. Fair enough. Well, actually, half of his points came from the line. All right. The thing is, most of those field goals happened in the first quarter. Right? Between the very beginning of the second quarter through I think basically like midway through like the fourth, he didn't hit a field goal. And right, the Timberwolves came prepared, right? You with John Morant, you know what you're getting, right? In general, you're just gonna gamble. Well, actually, in fairness, they did like try to hedge the screen multiple times, and that didn't really work out that well for them. But it's just like it's Ja, right? He's not the best 3-point shooter in the world. There are much worse ones, but like you're better off taking your chances. So like a lot of times he was meeting multiple dudes at the rim, right? One of those dudes being Karl Anthony Towns because of course it was. And he wasn't making a lot of those. But the frustration when I say the passing is like he didn't pass out, right? Because the defense collapsed on you naturally, right? That means somebody is open, right? And Morant is a very good passer. Like we know this, but he didn't pass out of the drive, I don't think, at any point in the game. Right? And it's not like his teammates were playing poorly, right? Dylan Brooks, 7 of 14 for 24 points, 3 of 4 from deep. Bane, 17 points, 6 of 15. Brandon Clark, 6 of 7 for 13 points and 12 rebounds. Side note, Adams was complete, like, might as well have not been there. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Question.
Okay.
Don't you think this could also just have something to do with the fact that this is Morant's first time really seeing NBA players care? Like, honestly, like, playoff-wise. I mean, really, a solid team actually care. Defensively, lock in on the half court. Because, generally speaking, like Ja, whatever. In the regular season, he gets a lot of his points in transition and from non-help side defense and, from being all acrobatic and things around the rim. In the playoffs, you don't get a lot of those same opportunities because these basketball players mentally lock in because they either, A, don't want to be embarrassed in the playoffs because you can be embarrassed in regular season because there's a lot of games in regular season. The playoffs, you're not trying to get embarrassed because everybody's watching your game. And 2, they want to at least not get blown out and or win. So this is John Morant's real first time going into the playoffs with something like this with a decent team. I think that has something to do with also with it being game 1.
I kind of disagree. Like, it's not like he hasn't seen this type of stuff at all before. Like in the Celtics game that the Grizzlies played, I think back in like January. I don't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That I sat and watched. They it's kind of similar stuff, little different because he tried to take like 9 threes in the first quarter. But I think it's just that I think some of it is just I think on some level I assume it's him feeling like a pressure to perform, right? Which forcing stuff a little bit more than he needs to. And of course, right, it's the playoffs, you game plan, right? And if we're talking the Grizzlies, the one person you always game plan for is who? Ja, right. And right, the game planned for him. And I don't know how much of it was coaching or just Ja himself. There wasn't a whole lot of adapting, at least not in terms of Ja dishing or anything.
Real quick though, but also I do think it's less of Ja and more of Minnesota because like them, dislike them, Carl Anthony Towns is soft. Whatever. Like him, dislike him. I personally tend to like him. But there's a reality, he got too much suburb in him. You know what I mean? But Anthony Edwards is the opposite of that. Like, he's built for these moments, but also he got a lot more dog in him than Karl Anthony Towns does. But they affect each other in a non-toxic way, unlike Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? So, like, they flow off each other a lot better personality-wise. But which is gonna which is gonna be showcased, and a light's gonna be shined on that in the relationship on the floor. But also, I just looked this up. D'Angelo Russell averages 18.1 points a game this season. Mm-hmm. We forget about him. Mm-hmm. We forget about him. He only had 10 points this last game, and was like, what was it, 2 for?
I'm looking at it, 2 for 11, and he did have 9 assists.
2 for 11, 9 assists. He's going to play better. D'Angelo Russell plays better, not in the spotlight. We've realized this. He's just the kind of player. Minnesota's good for him. But I think people generally this whole entire year sleep on Minnesota because they're Minnesota. And in the playoffs, and once again, Karl Anthony Towns being your number one, no. A number 2 behind Anthony Edwards, who once again is built for this moment, and it's his first time, it's really hard it's going to be really hard for Memphis to game plan against them. Because once again, their best 3 players play the game completely different. Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell don't play basketball at all the exact same way, but they're all pretty good at exactly what they do. Are they championship level? No. But are they going to be very hard to game plan for each and every game? Absolutely. Because you've got 3 people that can go off at any moment. For the game plan against Memphis, it's to stop Morant. Period. That's all it is. He can get 10, 12 assists. If he gets 10, 12 assists, you stopped Morant. That's it. So I just think it's way more difficult to game plan for one, the opposite side. I still have Memphis winning, but I do think that this is going to go, the length of the series.
So, it's here's the thing, though, right? One of the things, in addition to, like you said, Russell didn't score like that. Towns played a really good game. Was that Jaden McDaniels had 15 and 7 off the bench for Minnesota, right? Beasley put up 23. And especially when the other team's best players are playing, Edwards and Towns played, you can't let bench players put up numbers like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, and a lot of what kept Memphis in was steals, basically, right? Steals forcing turnovers. And capitalizing off those turnovers. But right, one of the things they're gonna have to figure out how to do is how to slow Towns down, right? And also, right, to if as far as figure out a way to get Ja going from the floor, because 20 free throw attempts is not sustainable, right? Yeah. Especially in the playoffs. But figure out how to get Ja going more than just that, right? Brooks can score. Bane is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Taking advantage of the depth of the fact that you have these players to create some kind of counter. And also you got to chase Minnesota off the 3-point line, right? They take I think they took their average amount in a game right, in that game one. And they took 41 threes. Granted, and they hit 16. Right? They pretty much won it from the 3-point line. And even if, right, they're not necessarily going to shoot exactly like that every night, you gotta do something, right? That said, it'll probably be a more interesting series than I initially thought, and I kind of thought it'd be an interesting series to begin with. But the Grizz kind of do need, they need this game too. Yeah. But I also think they'll come out harder to start this game 2 as opposed to game 1.
As a Memphis fan, I know you're just hoping.
Hey, I'm real deal mad at y'all. I'll let y'all talk for 16 minutes. And at no point did we talk about how Cat dunked all over Jaren Jackson Jr. Calvin, that's supposed to be one of the better defenders. Dog, if you letting Kitty Cat dunk all over you, what are y'all supposed to do?
And then he found the closest man he could and pushed him.
Jackson Jr. had 7 blocks. If you're trying to get blocks, you're gonna get put on a poster at some point.
That's true. 7 blocks.
It's just if you're actually trying to protect the rim, it's gonna happen at some point. 7
blocks. You did great, but no one will remember that block because you got dunked on. So good for you. I hope his ego is intact. I hope he has lots of self-confidence and esteem because he was getting clout yesterday, and it was kind of funny.
Right.
And that dunk is going to be on Cat's highlight reel for the rest of his career.
Oh no, it definitely will be. Don't I completely understand that, but
highlight reel is
you gotta forget.
No one will see his highlight reel is in Minnesota, and no one will see it besides him. So no big deal.
Jordan Woods will see it.
Come on now. Come on. This guy's ridiculous.
But yes, also something I noticed: Jaren Jackson Jr. has 2 or 3 different shooting motions.
Get that together.
Yes. He has not shot well this season. He has had some seasons where he shot significantly better than he did this season. I think the whole shooting motion thing might be part of why. Right? And he did try to shoot threes in the game. He tried.
That slow ass wind up. I hate seeing him shoot. I'm gonna be real with you, Calvin. I hate seeing Jaren Jackson shoot.
I'll give you that. It's not pretty.
If he wasn't 6'11", we would all be like, "Ooh, you gotta put that ball on the ground." So no.
Martin from shot.
Huh?
He was 0 for 5 from the arc.
Remember Kevin Martin?
No, you know how Kevin Martin's shot was kind of quick though. He could get it off fast. This is more like Charles Barkley swing. It's ugly and it's slow. It's it's super deliberate. It's like a counter. Bro.
It was like he figured out. It was like he started shooting threes when he was 10 and just never adapted the form, and no one bothered to teach him the proper technique.
And NBA threes. This wasn't a high school kid trying to throw it up. He was shooting from deep, and it's just oh, you got
he clearly doesn't need to use this motion
at all. Jaren Jackson, I kind of hope you hear this podcast. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr., I hope you hear this podcast because your dad had a strap. Maybe y'all got to work out in the off season to fix that because it ain't looking good for you, big dog.
But it'll be a fun series. Jenkins is supposed to be a good coach. We'll get to see how that works. This is if you want to test a good coach, the playoffs time, the playoffs are really the time to do it. Definitely, we're talking about X's and O's, game adjustments and such. That kind of stuff that coaches get remembered for much more than the daily thing of developing players and game plans over a season. But I legitimately do think that the Grizzlies aren't going to just come out tomorrow and just lay down. They're not that type of team. Now, Minnesota's not that type of team either. It's going to be fun.
No, Patrick Beverly and Anthony Edwards aren't those type of players. The rest of the team,
But the rest of the team feeds off of them.
true.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on. Boston Celtics Nets, the best playoff game that we've had so far. And if you ask me, instant classic. We had Kyrie golf for 39. Kevin Durant out here with a measly 23. No disrespect. I love you, KD. Jason Tatum, game winner. Was that the most chaotic game winner that you've seen in like a long time? Like
Yes.
Everything that happened was kind of just like what was going on here.
Yes, it was a very chaotic game winner. When they shot the game winner, I'm not going to front. I was at the game. I didn't realize that the clock was so low. Probably why I'm not in the NBA. But it was very chaotic. But the thing that I got out of this whole entire game was this: the Nets aren't winning a championship.
I could have told you that.
I mean, we already told Alan this before the podcast even started. Me and Alan were on the same page with this. The Nets are winning a championship. But I really saw why they're not winning a championship this game one. Now, for the Nets to win a championship, they have to beat the Celtics. The Celtics play team basketball. Not only do they play team offense, they play team defense. And not only do they play team offense, but they have two guys that can go get their own while playing team offense. But then you have the Brooklyn Nets, who played through two individuals. And you saw it break down at that last position they had. When Kyrie dribbled, up, can't score. Durant, here's the ball with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. When you 5 feet behind 3-point line, right? Bad shot was taken. I don't care if you Durant. That was an awful shot because you got the ball mad late. For the Nets to win, their two individual best players have to play individually well each and every time. One person cannot have an off game. Now, this Nets, let's say they get past Celtics. This might work against Philadelphia, whatever. Because they also play very individual-like. If they made it to the championship, they're getting beat bad by whoever comes out the West. They're getting spanked by Golden State. They're getting spanked by Phoenix. They're getting spanked because those teams play very, very good team defense and have, top 10, 15 individual players in the league. If you have trouble getting past the Boston Celtics, who are really, really good at what they do, you won't win a championship. Is what it is. This game just showcased me that their individual basketball won't win a championship. It is what it is. And, it was that whole entire thought process was showcased this very first game.
I would just like to throw out there, even though I did not witness this game, that their only 2 point guards are both coming off the bench. I just want to throw that out there because I just want to remind everybody that Kyrie's not a point guard.
Yeah, you don't need these other two dudes handing the ball come up court. And listen, this whole game just solidified in my eyes, excuse me. I like Jason. I hate Durant. I don't hate him, but I just like him as like a whatever. I dislike Kyrie. I really appreciate Jason Tatum though, and I really appreciate Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. Just saying. But yeah, this game was crazy.
Yeah. I think you guys are correct in your assumptions that the Nets probably won't win a championship. For them to win a championship, Um, I with the tools that they have right now for them to win a championship, they would have to have like a top 3, top 5 coach. Somebody that is going to recognize that when we're talking about a last possession, Kyrie does not need to start off with the ball. He is the greatest safety valve I've seen in basketball. Like since 2008, I cannot think of a number 2 option that if you give them the ball with 5 seconds, they're gonna make something happen. Like he is the king of making difficult shots. He can create his own space. But if you give him the ball at the top of the key, no, and everybody knows what he is about to do. All they gonna do is just like help. And Kyrie's like 6'2" at the end of the day. There's only so much he can do if he doesn't just automatically get past his defender. Like he needs to be the one that's off ball. And Kevin Durant does not need to be looked at as like a second option. Like I think that play.
But granted, I think that was just because of this game. That was just with this game because Durant wasn't playing as well as Kyrie. So I think that's the kind of thing you adjust game to game. Granted, I wouldn't because of the reasons you just mentioned. But also, when Kyrie got stuck, they double teamed him. Kyrie got stuck and shoot the ball. He's still 6'3", so it's easier. It's much more difficult for him to take a hard shot or a bad shot. Durant's gonna just look over everybody and just do a turnaround jumper. You know what I mean? So like, end of the game, if you need to get a shot off, you should give it to Durant. But I think your strategy was just to put it in Kyrie's hand because Kyrie was going off the second half.
I get that you feed the hot hand, but Kevin Durant was getting double teamed or they were sending like a hard help defender the entire game every time he touched the ball. Let that man draw the double. Let that man draw the double, and then you got a field full of shooters.
Okay, but also, not only was that offensive possession by the Nets bad at the very end of the game, right? But I didn't notice Durant's defense on that last possession until like replays on Twitter and whatever, Instagram stuff, right? But in the moment, I 100% noticed Kyrie's defense because he was just standing and looking, and he paid so much attention to the ball and Marcus Smart that he forgot about Jason Tatum cutting through. So he was fully focused on the ball and lost track of his man. That is basketball defense 101. And he just fumbled the bag on that. And people are like, look at Durant's bad defense. Kevin Durant is far from the rim. He's near the 3-point line. Kyrie's down there. And who cares if the Marcus Smart pass was to the corner or if it was purposely to Jason Tatum? Kyrie played atrocious defense right there. That's it. If you deflect the ball a little bit, that 0.3 seconds, Jason Tatum does not get that shot off. You got to do something, but to just stand there. This is stand there, hands to your side. Like, come on now. This is basketball defense, literally 101.
Hold on, wait. I have a question.
What's up?
And this is me again, not having seen it, and I kind of feel ignorant. All right, it's the last possessions game. The other team has the ball. The Nets are up. Why is Kyrie in?
Who else is defending? You just
I
said
don't think the team has Joey, never mind. I'll let I can go. Sorry.
Yeah, my bad to interrupt.
I'm just like, you're going to tell me that, like, Patty Mills or Dragic couldn't do a better job defensively?
Have you seen them two play defense?
Not recently, no.
Goran Dragic is cooked, my boy.
Oh, recently? He been cooked his whole career.
No, I'm talking about like effectively. Like that's not the dragon anymore. That is the salamander. Like
they are. There are no good options, right? At least Kyrie sat out half the season. You know what I mean? At least he's a little fresh. Everybody else, they ain't got no better options. Kyrie, Dragic, and he was in the game, I think, or Patty Mills. Patty Mills, he's this big.
He's smaller than Kyrie, bro. Like it's
not even the fact of
Okay, second
I
question.
played defense and it was bad. It is you were caught ball watching and a layup was scored on you. So that's just bad defensive technique, not bad defense itself. You know what I'm saying? So it was dumb. Like I was hyped. I was like, that's a great play, nice pass, Marcus Smart, the whole thing. But objectively, that was just really bad defense. And I'm just like, you're in the NBA. Thank God you can score the way you can.
Look, I still got the Nets beating the Celtics just for the simple fact that the Celtics played a really good game on both ends of the floor, and they still needed a buzzer beater to win. And if you watch that play, as chaotic as it was, even the shot wasn't even that smooth. Like Jason Tatum is like almost falling down out of a spin move and got the ball up there. Like if anybody else takes that shot outside of like Jaylen Brown, that does not go in. And even if it's Jaylen Brown, I'm not sure if he executes it that way. Like it is 0.3 seconds. It is one shot away from the Nets going 1-0 and basically taking away home court advantage. And this is with Kevin Durant having a bad game. I don't know about y'all. I haven't seen a lot of bad games from Kevin Durant.
Granted,
That
the
is-
way they played defense on Durant, they caused him to have a bad game. The Celtics defense is stupid good. Like it really is, right? Their team defense is ridiculously good. Kevin Durant, they were throwing so many bodies at him and just playing the smartest defense they possibly could. And if you watch them over the course of, for sure, the last 2 months, this is the way they play. This isn't outside the box. We're like, oh, they played a crazy good game, a game they usually don't play. This is exactly how they play. So either you're going to beat them or starting right now, you're either going to beat them or you're going to beat yourself. They're going to be consistent the entire time. They're going to stay consistent offensively and defensively because they're not just getting good shots, they're getting the best shots they can get almost every single possession. They also just happen to have guys who are straight bucket getters. And Al Horford might have been the X factor to this game, along with Marcus Smart. Those two players really killed it, though, right? But on the Nets, who are the role players that are going to step up? Honestly, who are they? I don't know.
Ben Simmons.
This man about to come out the shadows like he's the Batman or something like that, and just save the series. We'll see. But once again, that man can't shoot. And there's a reason he ain't won the playoffs yet. So
fairness again. If granted, he's not gonna show up. Like we don't need to pretend like he is. But if he did, he doesn't need to shoot. That's what basically everybody else is on the floor to do.
Yeah. Hey, and if I see a lineup that has Bruce Brown and Ben Simmons on the court at the same time, I kid you not. I'm going to start the campaign to get Steve Nash to fuck up out of here.
Yeah, but Ben Simmons can do this thing called post up and just act like a big fucking possession. He can do these things. He just wasn't doing them because he would clog the lane with Joel Embiid. He can do these things. But are we wasting energy talking about Ben Simmons coming back to the series?
He can also put up 32, but he didn't do that too much. So
and that's also true. I don't know where the man mentally is. This man got lawsuits going on. This man won his money. This man sat out for a long time because of different reasons. Apparently his back was hurt. I was like, whatever. Who cares? Too much on the couch. I don't know what's going on with him. I'm not going to think of him as a factor yet until he officially is able to play. Then that changes everything.
Yeah. I got money on him making his debut game 6. Their backs are going to have to be up against the wall for him to come in. It's going to be Hail Mary. Let's see what he can do.
I don't even think he'll come in then, but
Dog, if he came in game 6, they win, they go to championship, and somehow they win a championship, and it's all based off of Ben Simmons, I'm gonna be so sick for Joel Embiid. I'm gonna be
Finals
so sick for him.
MVP. He got to get Finals MVP. I don't care how well anybody else does. He
Listen,
got
whoever gets MVP of this season, give it to him. That would be the most that's like the Paul Pierce wheelchair coming back moment, but like steroided up to the 100th degree. That is that would be one of the craziest storylines in sports history. It really would, but it won't happen because it's Ben Simmons, and I like Ben Simmons, but sometimes the dude's just soft.
Side note, because you mentioned how like seeing Durant play bad games, the only time I can really think of was a series he played back when he was in OKC against the Grizzlies, and Tony Allen was on him. Like, I mean, he put up numbers, but he took a crap ton of shots to get them, and
Yeah,
like that was all. And then we couldn't close. Was Jorger the coach then? I'm pretty sure he was. I blame him.
I mean, but
Yeah.
also Durant didn't play well when they lost to the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals the year before he left. The year when they were playing the Warriors,
Oh,
the year before Durant left, the last year of the OKC, they did not. He did not play well at the end of games. But we have not seen that for years.
yeah. Look, and the crazy thing about it, that was almost a decade ago.
That's kind of mind-boggling. But we haven't seen that for years. But I think you have to give credit where credit's due to the Boston Celtics.
Oh, you have
But like
to.
on ESPN, they're not. On
Like-
Fox One, they're not. And they won't be. But that's not what they do. It's not bring the numbers up, right? But like the Boston Celtics really played good basketball. Like it looked like it was like Spurs-esque. It was crazy.
But like the thing about Durant, if nothing else, is he makes the defense do their jobs. He's not going to do it for them. So like he's more than happy to like get his little 30 or whatever and go on about his business. You have to make him. You have to make him uncomfortable enough to like you have to make him miss the shots basically, which either means you have one of the best defenders you could possibly have, or a great game plan, or ideally both.
Philip, who's the primary defender on Durant? Like, because they did such a good job with switching out.
I mean, I don't think there was one, to the truth. I don't think there was one. I think it was just like a
We gonna defend it by committee?
help defense. Just help defense the entire game. Right? It was help defense the entire game. I don't think there was an actual primary defender on Durant, from what I can remember at least. Every time I remember it, it was like whoever was close to him was guarding him, and then there was somebody else helping in the entire game. The entire game. So good job on the team. Marcus Smart was out there doing the thing too, though. Marcus Smart reminds me of like why he's one of my favorite college basketball players of all time. He plays basketball very smart, right? But every so often in his NBA career, you've seen him have like mental mistakes on the offensive end that are detrimental to the team. Taking shots not supposed to be taken, so on and so forth. You're usually threes. In this game, he did everything perfect. And it was just apropos that he happened to make that last pass. Like, it just kind of fit in line with what the game was adding. What the game was having in his line of work. You know what I mean? It was pretty ridiculous, to the truth.
Yeah. No, we go. I think that's going to be the best series. I think everybody else's series is going to be. The Grizzlies is the only one I think is going to be able to match in the back and forth.
I can agree with that. Yeah, everything else is more straightforward, at least right now.
Yeah, well, let's talk about a series that, as much as we think is straightforward, it does not look like it's going to be, bro. And that is Milwaukee and the Bulls. After watching the Bucks game, I came away thinking, Giannis is a monster. I already had those thoughts. This man had 20 and 10 at half. Actually, he had like 24 and 12 at halftime and finished the game with 27 points and 16 rebounds. But no, I was talking to my little brother about shout out to Percy. Perko. Go listen to his music. I was talking to my little
Continue.
I was listening to talking to my little brother after the game, and we both had like the same thing. There's nothing you can do with Giannis physically. Like there is no amount of bodies, there is no amount of defensive pressure. Like the Bulls double teaming him in the post was laughable. Like there was one point where he like threw up a floater, he missed it, and then he caught a putback over 3 dudes. And like Giannis drew so much attention in that game that I can't tell you what anybody else did. Brook Lopez had 18, Drew Holiday had 15, Chris Middleton had 11, Bobby Portis had 10. I can't tell you how they got their buckets. I can't. Like I couldn't keep my eyes off Giannis for the most part. But you can really tell when Giannis isn't in like full God mode. They got to be worried about the Bulls. Like there was a point where it looked like the Bucks were going to run away with the game, and like 2 minutes later, they just ate up like a 12-point lead. In the entire second half, it was extremely close. They were going back and forth, and that's kind of the thing when they like figured out how to slow Giannis down, which again, I can't tell you how they did it. He still looked like a physical monster out there. And everybody just had like solid games. Nikola Jokic pretty much matched Giannis's production, even though he did not look good in that first half. Like Giannis was babying that man. Like there was like a spin move Giannis had out of the post, and he dunked all over Vucevic, and Vucevic just put his head down and go the other way. There's nothing you can do. They threw a lot of guys to defend him. Phillips' boy Alex Caruso was as good as he could possibly be on defense.
Not my boy. I need you to tell that right now.
Hey, look, all season when we've been talking about the Bulls and how good they are defensively, you have mentioned Caruso.
I have. But
that's your boy.
That's just me saying facts, not me over here talking about my boy. That's me spitting facts. He's one of the best offenders. But don't put words in my mouth. Keep going.
Philip, it's okay if you like the white man. It's okay. I know your thing on this podcast is not liking the white man, but you can like the white man.
Yeah, Larry Bird.
Hey, that man's the closest thing we'd have had to Larry Bird since Gordon Hayward.
Wow. Gordon Hayward's born.
You said what?
Gordon Hayward's born.
Yes. But he was the best thing we had since Larry Bird for the white people. But that's besides the point. Kobe White came in, had a really solid game. You know, big 6'5", quick dude, and that's exactly what he did. That's how he scored. But no, this is going to be one of... As good as this series is going to be between these two teams, it is going to also be the most boring. Like, there's no one on... Outside of their main guys, DeMar DeRozan and Giannis, there are no guys that can really, like, make big highlight plays that are going to have, like, a memorable moment. Like, I do not know who, outside of Zach LaVine, who was in, like, the worst foul trouble, like, I've ever seen of a dude who doesn't exactly play high-level defense. Like, he had, like, 4 fouls by halftime. Like, it was rough for him the entire game. But, no, it was, like, piss-poor production from everybody. And that's just because, like, both teams play really good defense. It's like an ugly brand of basketball, but it is probably the most effective, like, grinded out championship level game. Like, They didn't pass 100 points, and I think this is the only playoff game that didn't. It was 86-93, and it was the most grinded out 93-86 game. Like this looks like old NBA basketball. Like everybody's operating from the mid range or in the paint. There's not a lot of 3-point shooters, especially not in this game. Uh, Brooke Lopez between all three teams. Brooke Lopez might be the most consistent 3-point shooter. I guess you got Chris Middleton in there, but again, that's a dude that operates real heavy in the mid range. I don't know, man.
I mean,
This is gonna be a tight one. This could go 6 games, like real easy.
I think he's gonna go 5. I really do. I think he's gonna go 5. I think this is gonna go 5. I think the Philly series is gonna go 4. I think the Miami series is gonna go 4. I think the ones that we already talked about. I think those the Memphis series and the Nets series are the 2 series that are gonna go the length. The rest of them, I think, are gonna be blowouts. To tell you the truth. Phoenix, Warriors, all of them. Jazz, like, cool. Luka Doncic is there, but like, I think Luka Doncic is gonna lose the first round too.
I'm like, Luka Doncic isn't there right now.
Well,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
We're talking about the second game, though, right? Tonight.
Oh, is he supposed to be playing?
I thought he was, but
I haven't kept up.
I think he'll be another dude that he does not play until like game 5, game 6. Because if they were smart, you don't know what's going on with that calf. We've had too many situations over like the last couple of years where you got the calf injury, you come back, it's the Achilles. I don't know how we don't.
the overcompensation of like trying to put too much weight on the other leg or trying to overcompensate in some kind of way. There's a lot of injuries, but I mean, even if he was there, they're losing first round anyways. So like, as an organization, you gotta be real with yourself and just understand that where you are at the time and place. But when it comes to the Bulls are going to lose in the first round. And next season, they're going to pick up a significant big man. They're going to try to at least trade for one. Watch.
I mean, Nikola Vucevic, isn't that like a top 10 big?
Defensive liability.
I mean,
you tell me.
Is anybody who's going to be better than him going to be available?
They're going to try. I've been hearing Rudy Gobert trades rumors, so they're going to try though.
But like, you're going to have to give up one of those defensive assets like Caruso or something for that to actually go through.
Yeah, you probably have to.
And probably White. I'm asking for Vucevic, White.
With all these guards and with the resurgence with the rise of Ayo, right?
Yeah.
You can give up Kobe Wright, and because if you have a healthy Ayo, Caruso, Lonzo in the backcourt with Zach LaVine, like you're fine. You know what I mean? Like you're generally speaking, you're fine. You can give up Kobe White, Vucevic. I would easily give up Kobe White and Vucevic for Rudy Gobert because if the Jazz don't win this year, which they won't, they're going to have to make a significant change. They made a change with Joe Ingles, right? But like they did that when he was injured, whatever. They're going to have to make a significant change. And Jordan Clarkson replacing him with somebody is not significant enough. Their main issues prior to this year have been with Rudy Gobert. If I was them, I would legit get rid of him.
Perimeter defense, man. That's why I think Caruso needs to be their first trade target if they're trying to make a move with the Bulls.
Yeah, but Kobe White's an all-around better player, and he's only in his second, third year. So like
here would be the problem though, okay? Because you trade Gobert, right? Hypothetically, for Vucevic, and now you have a team that the problem with their defense is that it was entirely dependent on one dude. And that dude is no longer there and you replace him with somebody who's objectively a much worse defender. And you still haven't addressed the reasons why you were dependent on him as your sole source of defense.
I think that if you take him out, their whole way of offense and the way of playing changes drastically. Like, everything changes drastically once he leaves. Because offensively, he makes you play a certain way. Defensively, he makes you play a certain way.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the reason they play. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry, but like the reason they play the way they do, defensively, right? It's not like fairness, right? You do have to account for Gobert not being the fastest dude in the world, but like correct me if I'm wrong. Their defense is largely predicated on funneling dudes ultimately to Gobert. All right, yeah. So like. And part of that is like, at this point, the guards aren't great defenders. Like, your perimeter dudes aren't great defenders. So like,
wait, question: do we know they're not great defenders, or do we just see them in a specific scheme they've been putting out there for years?
Keep in mind, I would assume that like, and like I'm probably a little bit off on this, that like Conley would be one of your better defenders, and he's not the defender he used to be. And like Donovan Mitchell is not a particularly good defender. Like, he gives effort. I'm not going to say he's awful. He's not Kyrie, but like you're not stopping anybody with these guys, right? You're basically you're basically going to, on some level, redo the experiment going on with the Nets. All offense, no defense. Because no one's stopping anybody.
Granted, so two things. One, Kobe, let's say Kobe White, for example. His defense is not like that bad. Like it hasn't been. There's been many times this year, specifically, especially when he came back from being hurt after like a month or two, whatever it was, right? Early in the season, that it was notable. Like, look at Kobe White working hard on both ends of the floor and playing defense on both ends of the floor, right? But you're going to get lost in the shuffle when you're playing next to, at the time, healthy Caruso and healthy Lonzo, right? Whose defense are like their bread and butter, essentially. But I don't have the stats, defensive stats, for Donovan Mitchell specifically, but I'm not sure how much we, as the viewing public, should judge players who play with Gobert defensively, because that is a whole entire scheme. Their scheme is centered around Rudy Gobert defensively. Offensively, they ain't do a whole entire thing. Donovan Mitchell put up shots because you can't do anything offensively centered around Rudy Gobert. We know that. If you watch them at all, you know that too, right? But defensively, if it's all I gotta do is feed them to the lane, and Rudy Gobert is gonna block it or make them shoot a really hard shot, mentally you're not gonna play as hard a defense as you could, because you know that you have an anchor on the back end that it's a failsafe. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure how strongly we should judge these players defensively. Now, granted, Mitchell himself, like stature-wise, he's not really built for defense. It's not really like good defensively. He's not built to have like a good defensive presence, right? He's not that tall. He just happens to be athletic and really quick for the offensive end of the court. But all the other players around him, right, the role players, they focus on Rudy Gobert and just lean it towards him. But obviously, if Rudy Gobert goes, they're not going to just leave it at that, right? If he goes, he's got money. They got lots of cap space to do a lot of different things, right? So there'll be other people coming along with that, other shifts, personnel, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I'm saying that is a rumor, not even to say rumor, that's just a hypothetical being tossed out there for the upcoming season because you see what the Bulls need and you know what the Nets don't need for them to win because Rudy Gobert is not what they need to win. And if you're a Jazz, not the Nets, the Jazz, and if you're with the Jazz, you are sick and tired of being in this weird limbo thing they've been in since Darren Williams. You know what I mean? You've been in limbo forever. So if you're going to have Donovan Mitchell at this point in his career, you've got to do something pretty drastic. So I thought it was an interesting hypothetical that I saw out there that was put out there on ESPN and stuff. So
it is an interesting hypothetical. It's just a very in function, right? You start thinking about it, it's just very strange. But also, I would make the argument that if your perimeter defenders were good enough to guard dude solo in a real way, as good as Gobert is, you wouldn't be trying to funnel everybody to him.
Occasionally there would be some stops. Their best perimeter defender right now is Patrick O'Neal, and he's a 6'10" power forward. Just saying. Just not a good look for your best perimeter defender to not play on the perimeter like that.
But I do agree that they might want to make some changes. But if I might throw a hesitation outside of the fact, right, that I'm pretty sure that it's been my understanding that Gobert and Mitchell don't like each other like that, or at least folks don't like Gobert as a person. That it's from a just basketball standpoint, the issue you would have is it's the GM of the Jazz is that you can make changes, but there is a decent chance, as much as in limbo there's a decent chance that any changes you make them worse. The way they are currently set up. And if you can eat that is fine. But if that's the case, you probably just want to blow the whole thing up anyway.
I say the Nets go for it.
No.
I'm gonna say no.
We're trading Drummond. We're trading
no.
Goran Dragic, Patty Mills, and our 2030 first round pick.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Hypothetically trying to make this work.
Please
right,
don't.
I would want Seth. I mean, it's gonna be hard to make it work anyway.
Don't you touch Seth. Seth is here. He's with us.
I would need you're gonna have to come off of Seth to make it work at all. Then the Jazz just hang up.
Mm-hmm. You tried. That's enough, yeah. That's my job.
You didn't try very hard.
Let's go Bird. I can't imagine Gobert and Ben Simmons on the floor at the same time.
Oh, that would not work at all.
Yeah, that would make my stomach hurt. I'm literally queasy thinking about it.
But any more games?
None worth talking about. Sure, let's real. Because we could talk about Miami, Atlanta. Man, Trae Young had 8 points. He looked like a boy.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, he looked like a boy. It was embarrassing. They got demolished. It was crazy. But, if you want to trash Trae Young, if you're a Knicks fan and want to do that, then go ahead. But, I don't care to do that. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care to do that. I don't find it necessary. I don't find it entertaining, right? Trae Young is a little man who shoots a lot of threes. He got shut down, period.
He was 1 of 12. Good God.
Hopefully he has a bounce back game, but if he doesn't, didn't expect anything from Atlanta this year anyway. So that being said, let's go ahead and get out of here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I have been your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr., and I am signing out. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and let my good friends sign out for me.
Once again, everybody, I'm Calvin McGowan. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for sticking with us to the end. Like, share, subscribe, leave something in the comments if you're joining us on YouTube. If you are, you of course can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Have a good rest of your week. And I don't know, we're going to watch some 4-game series, I guess.
There you go. And my name's Philip Dixon. And thank you.
Wow. And don't forget to go in the comments and go to our Patreon. We have a few different deals out here. You can get a lot of our content a day early by doing our $5 selection. If you are a parent trying to get some recruiting information, you can go ahead and use the $20 function. You can get in contact with me and some of my scouting friends to go ahead and get your kid evaluated and possibly even find the best track for schools for him to go to. And if you're a college coach, that $100 thing is calling your name. We are coming out very soon with our first drop of well over 100 players where we will be evaluating them, having all of our game notes, and much more information that comes with that as well. I got to have Calvin help me out a little bit more with the badge system, but that will be coming out at the end of this month. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys.